The very first shot where the camera starts with Bombay, showing the hustle bustle of the city, and you have JD with just one bag walking. He gets into this tabela, and then he gets introduced to Sushant Singh, who is collecting hafta. And I thought that was a startling a start to the journey of Satya, because till then you would assume that he's going to be very subtle and very subsumed in his approach, and suddenly he pulls off the knife from Sushant Singh and just slashes. I think that was like one of the iconic scenes, and it actually sets the stage for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. See, to start with, I have a very heavy influence of Bruce Lee's films, In all Bruce Lee's films, Way of the Dragon, Fist of Fury, always a new guy comes into an unknown place and we see the ambience through his journey. And then something happens. It's exactly the same start I had in Shiva, my debut film also. Nagarjuna comes into the college. Through him, we see the college, JD, X and Y and Z, till the time he kind of misbehaves with Amla. So I think that is a very standard thing I used in many of my films. Maybe in Satya it looked different because the ambience was so different.
Right, right.
So the point is a self-respecting guy, and I conveniently never told Satya's background. A normal guy wouldn't do something like taking a razor. So I never even took into conference audience that he's got this kind of a history from somewhere. He could have been a rowdy shooter. He could have been a criminal. We don't know exactly where he's come from.
Yeah, his identity is completely hidden throughout.
I deliberately did that because I didn't want to explain that.
Right.
Only once he says in the jail cell that, what are your parents? And he says they're dead.
Right.
Yeah.
So the second scene is the interaction between Shafali and Manoj Bajpayee after he comes back from jail the first time. I thought that was like another iconic scene where they slap each other. First Manoj Bajpayee slaps her, and then the door gets closed and she slaps him back. That shot, was it improvised or was it a part of...
Yeah, it was. See, the idea of the scene for me was an interview of Francis Coppola, where he said, people cannot relate to someone who can shoot someone in the head, but they can relate to a person who's making spaghetti. So if Clemenza is making spaghetti when he's talking to Michael Corleone, when they're planning to do the murder of this guy. So he said, I thought, so the guy was doing something which probably everybody in the auditorium, in some way or the other, with various degrees will be doing, that will give in believability to the character of Bhikkhu Matre.
They can relate.
So the fact that many wives nag the husband for coming late and all that, which is the connecting factor to the audience's relatability to the character. So that guy, when he shoots someone, it makes it believable.
Right.
So this was the theory. As far as the performance goes, it's completely improvised by Manoj and Shafali. Yeah.
Excellent.
And one more thing about that, when every review mentioned Shafali, but the incredible thing is, and mentioned particularly that scene, it was in a 3/4 angle. There's not even a close-up of us, actually.
Right.
Proper close-up. Most of it is shot in a 3/4 angle, favoring Manoj. In spite of that, people realize the brilliance. Yeah.
Right. And there is something very unique about Satya's the shots where each of the characters get killed. For example, Kalu Mama keeps eating his breakfast, idli, and then Guru Narayan's guy was just getting, he was hanging around with all the bruises and blood, and he gets shot with absolutely no notice and no expectation.
Yeah.
While you are startled and you are trying to recover from what just happened, you hear Manoj Bajpayee saying, "Arey, bolna tare," and he just covers his ear, saying that was actually very unlike any other Bollywood movie we have seen, because, and it's not just that scene. If you look at the way Amod, Paresh Rawal's character gets shot, there is absolutely no sound. He steps out, and there is a
gasp. Yeah.
That's it. And a lot of characters, including Bhikkhu Matre, the way he's shot is very unexpected and startling. And there is a pattern to every death that takes place in Satya.
Yeah.
So was it like a pattern that you followed, or was it just impromptu?
See, to start with, I think it's basically the point is death will come sudden at any point, and that particularly in that kind of a world. Now, an interesting anecdote about this Paresh Rawal's killing. After a short period, first time when I was showing the film in what we call a double positive, where there's no sound. He just was watching. And Bharat Bhai Shah was investor of the film. And he suddenly, when Paresh Rawal died, he said, Ramu, Paresh Rawal ko maar diya. You know? I said, yeah. But Ramu, well, there's no gunshot. You know? I said, by the way, somebody shot from a long distance. The reason Aitya Srivastava will be, inspector will be looking here and there, where the shot came from. So when it's shot from a long distance, why will you hear it? So he said, but Ramu, log samjhenge nahi. You won't understand. I said, you understood, na? I understood. Everybody will understand like that.
Right.
Some might take a little more time. Now, if you hear such a commotion and we go out and we see a guy bleeding, we might not know exactly why. But then we'll start talking or thinking and we realize someone has shot him or knifed him or something or the other, you know. But it was a major thing for him that people won't understand in the theatre. How this guy suddenly was bleeding and he died, you know.
Yeah. So just before that shot, he gives a lecture to his wife on how he wants to fix the system. So you would never assume or expect him to go through that.
Yeah.
And same thing with Chandar getting killed. You know, he would be cracking jokes with his colleagues and suddenly a bullet
Yes, I think that pattern, I would say it in a certain level, I would have picked it up from films like Goodfellas, for example, when Joe Pesci is killed and he just enters and out of the blue a bullet comes and the suddenness of it is almost like you are diverting the audience's mind from what can happen. And I didn't think of it as a pattern in that sense, that everything has to be done. On an instinct level, at each point of time, I probably did that,
But if you actually look at it, it almost looks like a very orchestrated and very planned execution. Because every bullet that is shot is very abrupt and comes at a point when you least expect it. The other scene that was executed very well was the theatre scene where Urmila and J.D. Chakravarthy go. I think it's Bahar Theatre in Vilayapalli.
Yes.
So I actually thought it was an improvisation of Gayam where you have a very similar scene. So even in, of course, Gayam, he doesn't distract people.
I think, see, the difference basically, Gayam is just an assassination attempt.
Right.
That is what the whole point is. Here, we're talking about, and then they have information that a dreaded gangster is there, and to arrest him, and then to surround the theatre. And he has to escape without his girl knowing, without Urmila's character knowing that he's a gangster that is holding a gun. So I think it's more complex in terms of that. So I don't see a direct connection except for the theatre point.
Right.
You know. Now the other thing is when I was shooting itself, I felt there was a fundamental flaw in the scene, in the way it is being shot, because I felt it's very stupid on the police's part. They'll come and expose themselves on the stage of the screen. Tumhare beach ek bhayanak gangster hai. Why would they announce that? Realistically speaking, they would probably work in plain clothes and outside, and when they're coming out, informant shows and they would just pounce on him. That is how it will happen. I knew it even at that time. But I thought the importance of Urmila not knowing is the point of the scene, and how cleverly he does whatever he does, to create that stampede. So I narrated it to some assistants of mine, some people, and nobody said there's a problem. So I thought I'll get away, because in cinema we a lot of times use this like Alfred Hitchcock line where drama begins, logic ends. So, and I did that many times and I got away. So I thought I will get away this time also, and I did it. And then when we sent it for background score to Chennai for Sandeep Chautha, he called me and said, Ramu, the film is fantastic till the point of the theatre scene, and it is looking so fake. I thought I'm zapped now. Now, every one of his team also felt. But by the time it was too late to do any correction and what to do, and I went ahead with that. And believe me, in the last 25 years, I've not found a single guy who said that what Sandeep Chaudhary said. Only difference is Sandeep saw it without music and sound, and maybe that created it. It can happen.
Right.
So in the final effect of the sound and music, maybe it went over the audiences. They kind of
right. No, it makes you immerse into that scene.
Lots of times it happens. You're distracting the audience. Right. If you're not giving them the time to think, and film creates an emotion. Right. some people might come out and discuss it or think about it, and that can happen, but even the critics never mention that, about this particular thing. Yeah.
And what's with border prominently being shown in that scene?
I think the only reason, because during that time that happened, the border accident, Upar Theatre, I thought it has some subconscious connect to some tragic thing happening when border was being shown.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It actually builds up the mood because you very quickly relate to Upar. You expect an accident or
Correct.
something fatal that's going to take place. And your obsession with Ganesh Visarjan scene, right? Gayam, it was full blown. The procession goes, and there is a pretty good sequence, and it repeats in the climax of
Satya.
So,
see, I feel because in Satya, Gayam maybe not so much it was required in the context, but I think in Satya, because Ganpati is a very, very big thing, especially in the underworld. Right. So they're very, very heavy devotees of Ganpati. So not to touch that was, I think, is complete something left. Which is the reason.
It just makes it incomplete if you don't.
Incomplete if I don't touch Ganpati. Yeah.
But it was very well placed in the sense, that is the only place where you can find a political leader with minimum security and least expected way of carrying a weapon. So I think that was very well executed. But